powered by Riverside.
Hello and welcome into the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad. And there were quite a few things through the week that had made me sad, like, throwing tomato soup on art to prove a point about climate change. And it was really hard for me to establish why they chose Van Gogh. And then I realized he must have taken so many private jets in his day. Like, he must have really done a number on that art. And then there were other societal things that we don't have to get to, like Deshaun Watson having another suit filed against him and the lawyer being pushed for the person to be named in the lawsuit as if
that's old news.
That is old news. Yeah.
We've beaten that horse to death.
We have, and it's not like those poor women that came forward didn't get dragged by all the cavemen and in Cleveland, right? So why not put another one through it? Let's keep showing them that we support them, all these victims. I'm sorry. I have a huge issue with the way our system works right now in terms of all these poor women being blamed and victim shaming, things like that. But like you said, that's old news. We will leave it alone. We're not even going to mention how the Cleveland fans a couple weeks ago in poor taste had a massage table out with a boner and Deshaun Watson, because they're pretty disgusting humans.
Oh, I never saw that, so that's cool.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, they had signs out that said "She's a liar," and there was a massage table with a Deshaun Watson jersey over it, and it had a boner, and it said it's not illegal to ask for a happy ending.
If he was on the Steelers, it'd be a completely different story.
Oh, absolutely. But at this point, I'm sitting here like, you know what? Stay classy, Cleveland. I wouldn't mind if like a Martian ship hovered over the field and abducted their quarterback mid-game. Sorry, Jacoby Brissett, you're fine. You're good. You do good things. But let's start in the obvious place. What made you sad this week, Wes?
Let's go with the Mariners. Jesus, that was a terrible Game 3 against Astros. And, I'm kind of glad I switched it off middle of the way through to watch the Tennessee-Alabama game, because, that right there is an example of why people don't like baseball. Like, 18 innings, 6 hours with no score? Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh my gosh. And the worst part is, like, they shut off serving alcohol after, like, during the 7th inning stretch. So these people literally had, like, 4 hours without alcohol. So, like, everyone who was, like, getting, like, really drunk there, because it's, like, the first Mariners playoff game, like, in Seattle in, like, 21 years, they're all drunk. They're like, yeah. And then 4 hours later, they probably all have splitting headaches. And they're like, can this game just fucking end? And then it just ends with a one-run or with a home run walk-off, basically. And it's like, cool, thanks. I just watched 6.5 hours of shitty baseball just to get kicked in the dick. Thanks.
So basically the Mariners game turned into Alcoholics Anonymous, is what you're saying? Yeah. They were just walking around. They're like, you know what? It's on the house. Here's some free water. Sober up. Here's some free coffee. Sober up.
It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but 18 innings, like 6.5 hours, like that. Like, can we just do like a home run derby or something? Basically like a shootout at some point,
just to see who wins.
Yeah.
who is the pitcher that can throw the fastest consistently? 5 pitches over 100 miles per hour, and you win.
Something like, who's the fastest base runner?
Oh, that's a good one. No, that's a good one, because that's pretty much extinct. That's almost an extinct tool in today's base. It's either home run or bust now. So that might be a fun one. Like, do you actually have someone that can run still on your team?
Yeah. Just something. So we don't have to watch 6 hours of baseball.
Yeah, it is funny but sad. I felt for Mariners fans during that game, because it was almost like what is it? Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill for the Mariners, and the Mariners finally got there, and then they get the Astros, which sucks, right? So the boulder rolls right back down the hill after you guys make it to the playoffs, because you win your first series, and it was amazing and beautiful, and then you see, we've got to play the cheaters. And you're like, you know what? Sisyphus, let's roll that boulder right back up the hill. Here we go. So you start rolling, and boom, they get the home run. The late home run takes out the Mariners in game 1. And you called it. You said, I think it's going to deflate them. I think they're going to lose the rest of the series because of this game.
Yeah, I said they were going to get swept. I was really rooting for them. Like, even though after the first 2 games, I was like, they're probably going to lose, whatever. Like, I accepted it. But I was really rooting for Seattle to get a second game on Sunday. But, I mean, it turned out they basically got 2 games back-to-back in one day.
And it was
shitty games. 2 scoreless games.
It was so bad for them because, again, it's you literally are watching, like, you don't want to watch that boring game, right? But at the same time, you don't want to look away because the Mariners haven't been in the playoffs in so long and they work so hard to get there. Then they play the Astros, like I said, the cheaters. And then you sit there for, 18 innings. And it's just nothing. And everybody's just like, please, anything, give me something.
Yeah.
I give me hope again, right? Hit a single, anything.
Yeah. Come on.
But how are you feeling about the future before I get to what makes you sad?
I think it looks good. I mean, we got Julio Rodriguez that we just signed for a long-term contract. We got a good bullpen. And I think there's a really good chance we're going to be competing for the division next year against Houston. So
that worries me. That worries me as an A's fan. I'm worried the Mariners are going to take the A's perennial spot in that division.
I mean, I think the A's just don't care anymore. I don't think they're wanting to spend.
Well, they never. In the history of the A's,
that's true.
They never want to spend. They never spend. I don't know that they don't care, but I know that they're in a dispute over where they're going to play, right? And I thought it was San Francisco, but then more information came out that that's not going to happen. So I'm keeping my eye on the stadium talks.
I mean, Oko is garbage, and it should just be imploded. And they should go to Vegas.
Oh, gosh. Let's not talk NBA yet. But how about LeBron James demanding a team in Las Vegas from his commissioner? I mean, I don't know, man. We'll talk about him in a bit because as we record this, he is getting his royal king ass whooped right now by the real NBA royalty in the Golden State Warriors. But we will welcome the NBA. The Sonics will be again. I'm telling you, the Minnesota Timberwolves will eventually be.
And so will the Vegas team.
Yeah, I don't know. I would feel bad if Las Vegas got a team before Seattle, though. I would not.
It's going to happen at the same time. I guarantee.
Is that your prediction? Same time it gets announced, Seattle and Las Vegas. I don't know. Seattle is such a good sports town.
You can't go from 30 to 31, right? You got to go from 30 to 32, especially if that's the plan, anyways. Like, just announce it. We're going to 32.
I know that you know this. I happen to love Seattle. I was promised Seattle weather in England, and it's just been sunny and hot, even in September, but global warming is not a thing. Another subject for another day. Let's talk about where I was going with that is I think Seattle is a fantastic sports town, by the way. I do.
Save the non-sports chat for Gorp, bud.
When it comes to what made us sad, I will say I am still sad that the Davante Adams stuff is still in the media. And the more I've seen of this, the more I can say I don't think he did it on purpose. And I think that he shouldn't have pushed him. I think we were all in agreement on that. You and I agreed on that he probably shouldn't have pushed him. But if he wanted to do damage, I think you and I both agree an NFL player could have done a lot more damage to a 19-year-old college intern if he really wanted to push it. So I'm a little sad that he was made into this violent person that needs to stop his outrage by everyone but Raiders fans. And I don't want to dig too deep into how Raiders fans have all fan bases are stands. I'm just going to be honest. Like, all fan bases are really stands. You've become one, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But before we get to that, I had an interview with, luckily I've got a lawyer in the family. My father is a defense attorney. And we're going to give you guys that interview now of what he thinks of the Davante Adams pushing situation, as a police report was filed last week against Davante Adams for assault. So let's go ahead and take a look at that interview. All right, welcome in my father and my legal what would I say? The person I go to for legal advice. There we go. Charles Fry. If you want, you can go ahead and throw out some stuff where people could reach you in California, because you practice out of California, correct?
Right. I'm a family law attorney. CharlesFryLaw.com.
Awesome.
I do family law. I do criminal defense. And, San Joaquin, Calaveras, Amador. So very small area.
Okay. Well, we're going to get that again at the end, too. I'm gonna bookend it. I'm going to get it at the beginning, and I'm going to get it at the end, so everybody has your information, and we make sure, at a minimum, we get you your credit. And I do have listeners, by the way, in that area, because people thank you to all of them that I went to high school with out there. They listen to the show. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about you probably know them all, to be honest, like personally. Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about Davante Adams and the infamous push heard around the NFL, and it's been played all over.
Vicious Davante Adams.
It's very terrible, as it's being painted by Kansas City police in the police report, that he intended to do bodily harm to a young college student. Yes. Causing, in the police report, whiplash, headache, and perhaps, I love the wording of that, perhaps a minor concussion. Got to leave room for error.
Yeah, as he rolled along the ground.
As a college student, I feel like they've been known to do that in college, but who am I to say? Okay.
Did he? I don't think he hit his head on anything, did he?
No,
I guess he got jerked.
Yes,
but his head. Can you get I'm not a doctor. Can you get you can get a concussion from this? It's like, especially, he's 6'1", and yeah.
The kid looks like he weighs about 130 pounds.
Yeah, he got knocked on his butt. We should keep it real. That could have happened to you in the subway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, he wasn't wounded.
So
yeah, the guy
I agree completely.
The bright shirt.
Right up, right away. He was right on his feet. Went about his way.
He had the IV pole or whatever that is.
I think it's his audio, his sound pole, to gain sound.
I didn't see a microphone on it.
I didn't either, but that's what it looks like. It looks like a sound pole that he's running with.
They just have this guy there, like, dude, go run across in front of Davante with this thing. See what he does.
Yeah, it's like when they have the Little League. Walk right in front of the angriest athlete on the field right now because he just lost the game that he should have won by 2 points. Do that.
We're not unbiased though. I mean, we're Raider fans.
Yeah, I
wouldn't want to see anybody really charged for that.
Okay,
I think he should get his $20,000 bid. Go.
So that led me right to where I wanted to go, which is that we've now seen it from multiple angles, and there's an argument that he didn't even see him. Like, the kid just, like you said, he ran out right in front of him. Whoever told him to do that, shame on that person. And he reacted, it appears. And my curiosity is that something
I have it freeze framed at literally right here. I should screenshot this so I don't have to look for this angle again.
Mm-hmm.
When he is immediately to his left, just before he's right in front of him, I do not believe, especially based on this photo here, is there a way? There's no way to screen share this, right? Let me send this to your.
There is. If you send it to me, I can pull it up.
I'll send it to you right now.
Okay.
There is no way he even sees him the moment before he's there. He's not looking there. I'll show you this. This is where we can get into it. But we should probably take this in steps, right? I think we have the perfect defense shot for him.
Yeah, and again, this is based off of your knowledge of what happened, not your knowledge of Missouri law, because you practice out of California.
I am a California licensed attorney, not
Okay.
a Missouri attorney.
Perfect. I just want to make sure we're covering all our bases there. But yeah, I agree. I would agree. It doesn't look like he sees him.
Look at this. Look at that screen I caught right there.
And then, yeah, it looks like he's looking
What do you
in the
think
other
about
direction.
that?
Yeah, it absolutely. You're absolutely
doesn't see
right.
it.
Let me share it. Do you see there?
He doesn't.
That's what we're looking at here. Yeah, and 100%. He doesn't see him. He doesn't see him at all. Okay, let me.
He's not looking. He's not looking for that guy right there. So
No.
I just happened to find that. I did it while I was watching it and rewatching it and stopping it and pausing it. But I think right there is a good angle of just before this vicious attack on this hapless victim.
Now you said in California it would be considered what now? That like if this was to get tried in California, you were mentioning in the production meeting it would be considered a what?
I would, at most, it's a simple battery at most, but I don't really even think it rises to that level.
Okay.
Personally,
Go ahead.
I think a prosecutor can also be fair about things and seek justice. And I think you can watch this in slow motion. I think you can see here, he did overtly reach out, but I think if you look at this and then all of a sudden some guy is just in front of you, he's a little amped, right? He's just after a football. He's a football player. He's a little amped.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is literally running right in front of him with a giant metal pole, which maybe it does hold a microphone. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But that's right in front of your face. And he almost defensively reaches out and just like pushes it away from him. That's how I see it, but I'm a defense attorney. So a prosecutor, especially if you live in Kansas City, Missouri, and you're a Chiefs prosecutor, then you might try to stretch this.
And that's what it appears
I was
the police
looking at the
trying
kid.
to do.
So this incident, this vicious, brutal attack was the 10th, right?
No.
October 10th. So
Okay.
they filed charges on this. Lightning fast. October 12th. Come on. A
So if it
little
wasn't-
itty bitty battery like this.
So if it wasn't a famous
It
Las
seems a
Vegas
little-
Raider, if it wasn't a famous Las Vegas
Right.
Raider, how long would this typically really take?
Yeah, I don't even think they'd probably ever charge it. That's
Okay.
my only. What do we know? Though, you know, but
Mhm.
this is hardly nothing here. If this happened to you, you probably would be waiting for justice for a long, long time.
Okay. So it's what you're saying. It's a confluence of events. Essentially, it happened on Monday Night Football, primetime game, high, well-known athlete, and a Kansas City Chiefs kid. Like all those things had to combine to get this process so quickly.
And they filed muni charges. So muni charges is city charges. That's what that means. It's the city code of Kansas City, Missouri, section 50-169. No person shall, by an intentional overt act, unlawfully inflict bodily injury or cause unlawful offensive contact upon the person of another. And then, as others have said, that is a maximum imprisonment of 180 days, so 6 months, and a fine not less than, so it has a minimum fine of $250 and a maximum fine of up to $1,000.
Okay. So do you think Kansas City's going to get their money from him as well as this kid?
That's why I think they're charging him. And I would imagine it would run along those lines. It seems like he has some defenses, but I'm just not sure with a case like this if it just doesn't get settled for some type of diversion or something, make him go take an online anger management course or something, and do 8 hours of community service and you're good, Something
So if
like that
would they
like
take his past into account?
You can't possibly.
If that was to come up, the online anger management?
When you start taking people's past into account, that's more like a mitigating factor.
Okay.
So that's like after you plead guilty. So plead guilty with excuse so I have no criminal record. So those are all sentencing factors, not really whether or not you're guilty factors. They're usually either mitigating or they're, different things that the judge can consider in sentencing.
Okay. And you said
usually, nice people normally.
Now, in slight jest and in slight seriousness, you said he's clearly amped up. He's clearly in a state of high energy, high adrenaline when the kid runs in front of him. And I don't want to paint too broad a picture, but I want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. And there were reports from the Raiders locker room that the Kansas City fans were throwing what appeared to be urine, cups of what appeared to be urine. I want to make sure allegedly urine. And then they were hurling insults that included the N-word at them. Would the environment play a role in this? Or again, is it just he's probably going to pay him to go away?
Right. And there can be either mitigating factors. There could be heat of passion, other types of defenses like that come into play based on those things there. When I watch it, when I see it myself, then I would really focus defense on the intent aspect rather than going straight to the mitigating factors like, he helps old ladies across the street. He's the greatest guy on the planet. That the judge might consider all that stuff in sentencing. Okay. But the intentional overt act is where I'd really, I'd be all over the prosecutor about that, talking to him and saying, maybe we try to get it down to an infraction or, like I said, some type of diversion program, because do we really have an intentional overt act? And we can look at that photograph right there and say, 2 seconds before this happened, he didn't even know that guy existed on the whole planet. A second later, he's in front of him with a giant pole. So
in a hostile environment.
His overt act is almost defensive because the guy's jumping in front of him with a large metal pole. It's like, what is this? This guy's here. He wasn't looking around. He didn't alter his course to seek this guy out and push him. He was moving along, and all of a sudden he looks and this guy's there. And maybe he put a little bit extra on it. I don't know. That could have been the amped up part. Yeah. But the intentional overt act. And then, so when you were reading the charges, obviously part of the elements of this thing is inflicting bodily injury. So they're looking for could have a concussion, could have some type of, he could definitely have gotten some type of whiplash here. So they're trying to meet the elements of this crime that as it reads.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple of elements as a defensive attorney of that I think you could focus on. First off, was he really injured? Was there really any injury? And definitely, was there an intentional overt act? Did he alter his course? What did he do to go after this guy? And then that's always an argument because the prosecutor can say, oh, no, he ran up and pushed him. Yeah. Right there, you can see it. But I think if you look at it a little closer, I don't see that he just ran up and pushed anyone. And that, what's the language allowed to use on this? But this is kind of a chicken shit charge.
You can use whatever language you're
irritated when chicken shit charges against people. That happens to everybody. If this guy does anything at all, that little reporter guy, he's what'd you say he was, a college intern?
College intern, yeah.
He's getting paid. Why do we need to go the criminal route here? Let him get paid if he's getting paid. And but why do we need to put Davante Adams in jail for what happened there? And so that's really what you're saying if you're a prosecutor is this guy did a crime that he needs to be punished for. And I would say another mitigating factor we haven't talked about, and it almost doesn't really apply here, but it's in sports, there's always implied consent. He's not a participant, but still, there's a certain atmosphere when you're at a football game. Maybe someone's going to hit you with popcorn. You know, there's certain levels of stuff when it would go too far, but there is like a societal contract. The stuff might happen. You might get shoulder bumped or something when you're walking through the hallway. This type of stuff happens when people are in close contact. And so I would say when you run right in front of someone, they just might, you know, push you out of their way because you ran right in front of them with a large metal pole. So.
You definitely took one of my last questions. I was going to ask you if you agree to be on the sideline. Have you given any sort of implied consent or informed consent of, hey, I know I could get hit by an athlete?
I don't know if they've actually. It would be the intent part. I'm sure that they must be under some type of contract. I'm sure that, you know, if you're down there by the goal line and the guy hits you when he's running with the ball, but this. I think it's the overt act here, but also that's what I'm talking about. There's still this implied thing that you're on the field of a football game with football players here, and maybe you don't run right in front of that football player, you know, when they're leaving the game, especially. Yeah. So, yeah, I think all those things could come into play for him. But you didn't sign a contract that said, "Oh, I want to get assaulted by Davante Adams." You know, unless you were getting in the ring with him. You know what I mean? It's not really there. But I mean, just talking as a football fan and as a citizen on Earth of what I want to see prosecuted and crimes I think are being committed on people, I don't see this as a crime. This is a happening in life. He didn't seek him out to push him. He didn't give him anything extra while he's on the ground. It seems like he said, "Man, don't run in front of me," or who knows what he said to him, you know. But it's like he said something to him, but he definitely come to a stop, and it's like, here you are with this pole right in front of me, and he's a big guy, and that's a little guy, you know, and you know you felt pretty good there, but that's it. You know, I'll leave it up to civil justice. I don't think he deserves criminal charges here.
Okay, perfect. So that leads me to my last question. What do you expect the outcome's going to be in this? After all this hoopla, what do you think's the end?
And do they charge a Kansas City player if that was a Kansas City player? But anyway, if I thought this was a good case and like, all right, a lot of people don't want to fight a criminal case because the prosecutor's sitting there saying, if you fight this case and I win this case, then you're going to jail for 6 months. Or we can do this deal, you know, pay your fine. You know, we can give you 2 days jail. And for that jail, you can pick up garbage on the side of the freeway or go to the homeless shelter or whatever you do. So that's how they get you. So they come at him, well, we're going to get you. We got you up to 6 months in jail. That's hanging over your head. You got other stuff to do. Do you really want to, you know, fight out this case, or do you want to take this sweet deal? But if I was a defense attorney, I would be, and he didn't want to fight this to the jury trial, then I would probably be looking along the lines of some type of diversion with some type of community service, maybe an anger management program, and just try to say, hey, we're trying to help this guy in the future to be able to give him the tools to handle a situation here. We're not looking to take a guy with no record and throw him in jail and he has a lucrative career and he's a good guy. Maybe he's a dad or whatever. I don't know what he is. I haven't looked into him, but these are the types of things I would be saying. He has a job, he has a career, he has, you know, 2 children he's raising. And do we really want to put this type of guy in jail? Do we want to ruin this guy? And I would say no. And then I would say, but we can, you know, divert him. We can have him take an anger management program to help give him the tools so as he goes along in life. And so that's how I would be thinking. You know, if I could get him diverted to where that way, if you go a year, you don't have any more crimes going on, then maybe in a year we'll dismiss the whole case, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's not on his record. He's taken a wonderful, he got a certificate saying he took a 16-hour anger management program suitable for framing, and you're good to go. That's what I would be hoping for sure.
Okay. That's what we're all hoping for as Raiders fans. I didn't want to paint that narrative, but you did it for me. But yes, we are Raiders fans, and I think that's what we're all hoping for. Where can the people reach you one more time if they need to obtain your services for anything?
I have a Facebook page or a webpage, charlesfrylaw.com.
Perfect. Thanks so much, and I hope to have you on again to go over more of this stuff.
All right. So we're back. As you can see, go ahead. Sorry.
I will say that, like, after looking at like multiple angles and stuff like that, like I too have kind of changed my mind. Like I think he should have helped him up, you know, but I don't think he saw him at the time, and it was just kind of a reaction like, "Get the fuck away from me! Like, what are you doing?"
Why are you here?
But
why are you even here?
Yeah, why are you in my way? But yeah, like I think you should have helped him up, you know.
And as you saw,
and
my father agrees with you.
That guy's just like trying to get money. He's just trying to get a buck. And the unfortunate thing is that he's going to be blacklisted basically from ever doing any sports game again.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the kid. I think it's the kid's parents, if that makes sense. Like, I think the kid's parents were like he got that internship somehow. So his parents are somewhat important, I'm sure, right? It can't just be the school. Those internships, those are hard to get. You have to know someone, or your parents have to. And the whole lawsuit and the police report that my father and I read, it just shows, it gives off, do you know who my dad is vibes pretty hardcore, right? And my dad, a defense attorney, said, you could clearly tell the officers that are writing this report are just trying to make sure it meets the minimum requirements of this crime. So the minor concussion stuff we laughed at. You could definitely see where I get my sarcasm from. And that
whiplash, non-life-threatening injuries. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you could definitely see where I get my sarcasm from. As when he wasn't giving exact legal definitions to us, and I thank him for that. He was very sarcastic with it, calling it a terrible, terrible, brutal assault. But moving on, I think we all agree,
act of violence.
Yeah, I think we all agree it's a money grab, and he'll get money. It'll be settled out of court, I'm sure, and charges will be dropped. Is my prediction there. The NFL has even come out and said, look, there's no timeline for what we're going to do to Davante Adams, which in my mind is, look, we're really going to let the legal process play out, and we're hoping we can just sweep this under the rug because it's a non-issue.
Yeah.
And it's probably their fault, to be honest, NFL security's fault. So it may have been their fault that he was even in the way of the tunnel, because it's not like Davante Adams went out of his way to seek this guy to push him. Yeah. He's standing in the way of his way back to the locker room.
I mean, he was running across like a buffoon.
Yeah, and in a hostile environment, my father made the point of he's got a big metal stick, and he just appears right in front of Davante Adams. And he's like, any human would reach out to be like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
Outside of that, we had a big college football weekend. You already mentioned it earlier. We had Bama, Tennessee. Are you laughing because they stole the goalposts?
Oh my God, that game was amazing. Like I said earlier, so I decided when I saw that Tennessee was up on Bama, I was like, screw this Mariners game. I was like, I'm going to watch some football. And that game was amazing, start to finish. I was rooting so hard for Tennessee. And the fact that they pulled it off the way they did with Bama missing a field goal with like 20 seconds left, and then Tennessee driving for the go-ahead field goal, and then just everyone rushing the field, tearing down the goalposts, and then so both goalposts got taken down. One of them got marched out of the stadium, and if you look at the videos, there's this guy on top as it's like being carried on their shoulders, and there's this guy on top, and he's like directing people like, go left, like trying to basically Tetris this thing out of like the gates of the stadium. And then the
Did they take to the river?
Yeah. So they marched it down like Main Street or whatever, like into the river, and then they chucked it in the river, and now it's probably just like in the bottom of the river. Who knows? And then the other one, these idiots tried to march it up the stands, like onto the concourse level, and then I think they were probably going to try and like push it over the edge of the stadium to get it out.
Wow.
But they got to the top of the first level. And then I think that's when security like intercepted them. Yeah. And so there's a picture of just like a bunch of cops around and this goalpost just sitting in the middle of the stands with like nobody around. And it's like, you freaking idiots.
I don't want to be a victim of fake news. I don't. But I was trying to find a story that popped on my Twitter timeline about Tennessee asking for donations to replace the field goal post before the game. Is that real? Is that a real news story?
No. So they asked for donations afterwards. They were like, we need new field goal posts for this game next weekend. Help us out. But the funny thing is they actually have a backup set of field goal posts under the stadium.
So is it real or is this in jest?
Well, I think it was like a little bit like, so the University of Tennessee actually started a GoFundMe, and they've raised like over $100,000. But it's just another university like fundraising thing.
I hate college education in our country. I really do. It really, wow. I would love to look up what their endowment is, and I'm sure it's well over $1 billion for a university the size of Tennessee. And for them to do that is just, I want to throw up everywhere. It is so.
Oh my gosh! I thought it was fake. For them storming the field was $100,000, and then the goalposts each cost like $5,000 to $10,000. I think is what someone said.
Yeah, that's what they leave in a toilet after they walk away from the toilet at Tennessee.
Yeah, $120,000, and it's like. That game alone was worth like tens of millions to them, just beating Alabama on their home field.
On primetime television.
On primetime.
That's
like,
unreal.
That game was like, that game, you couldn't put a price on that game for the University of Tennessee.
That is unreal. I just got so mad. I thought it was a joke. I thought they were joking around.
No,
I thought they were leaning into it.
Don't fund me.
I thought they were just leaning into it. That's why I didn't want to talk about it. It was
partially in jest, but it was just like another university fundraising thing.
Golly, that's so disgusting. Moving on from that before I get too irritated. Great game by them. I got really sick of seeing everybody say Tennessee's quarterback should be drafted first overall. He played a great game. He's 25 years old.
I just want to say, I think their wide receiver was a star there. Like 220 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's insane.
Yeah,
the dude was burning them left and right. They could not stop him. Like just like flat or just like go routes or whatever. He was just burning all the DBs. Just left them in the dust.
It's Hyatt, right? That you're referring to?
Yeah.
The hospitality industry.
Jamal Hyatt, or yeah.
Okay.
He's next level. He's gonna be like top 10 draft pick.
I mean, that's a bit hyperbolic, but he's really good. He's really good. I don't know. So you're probably not wrong. I mean, wide receivers went at a record pace this year's draft, so they're obviously in high demand. But I don't think Hooker is going to go in the top 10 because he's 25 years old. I mean, he's Brandon Wheaton. He's Chris Winkie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's an adult playing college football. All right, like against kids. Yes, he's bound to have a great game, but there's a reason why he's still there at 25 years old, everyone. Which brings me to my next topic. There's a reason why Bo Nix transferred to Oregon, Wes. Did you know that? There's a reason why. It's because he wasn't good at Auburn, and it's because he can't play against good defenses. And anytime he plays
that's not why people transfer, though, necessarily.
That's true.
It could just be like they get fed up with the coach. Like, you've had coaches that you hate. You've told me.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. You know what? And if it was anyone but Bo Nix, who had been benched multiple times at Auburn, I'd be like, you know what? You're probably right. In today's world, with the transfer portal and being able to play right away, he probably did it. but it's because he couldn't compete, in my opinion. He wasn't good enough to play in the SEC. So he came on over to the Pac-12 where we don't really play defense, and I'll admit it, I'm a Pac-12 guy. And he's excelled.
You're saying that as literally like a team that's regarded as having some of the best defense just allowed 52 points.
That's fair. That's fair against a 28-year-old quarterback. I know he's 25.
Yeah.
Everybody calm down before you jump into my mentions and say, you don't know football. I'm sorry, I'm sarcastic. And I don't take a sport that I'm not a part of right now insanely seriously, guys. I thought that was an amazing game. I'm so happy.
Yeah, that was the most points that Alabama's allowed since 1907.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But let me just give you, and you would agree, Bo Nix has played great this year, right?
Yeah, I think outside of the Georgia game.
Yeah, outside of that Georgia game, that one game against the top defense, right? Like, you're right, absolutely. So let's take a look
what
at
happens when UCLA comes to town. Okay, we got game day coming to Eugene, and we're gonna shit down your throats. That's all I know.
So let's take a look at this competition. I know you're trying to deviate me, but I'm just gonna read it. Eastern Washington. What's their record right now? Oh yeah, sub 500. What division do they play in, Wes? Is it a good one? I'm not sure. I can't remember. What division does he? Okay, so that was a good game, and that made up for a majority of his stats because they won that game 70-14. Now let's talk about BYU, a ranked matchup, right? And I was even excited for this game.
What you're trying to do here because
I watched this game, right? And then I looked at BYU's defense. They're one of the lowest ranked defenses for their ranking, right, in the top 25, and their record is 4-3. And then oh my gosh, everybody came at me for UCLA almost losing to Southern Alabama, and I was like, I forgot. Washington State was this juggernaut. You're right, guys. Let me take a look at Washington State's record. Oh, also not great. They had to win with a last-second touchdown, 44-41. Bo Nix, fantastic.
Washington State. You really got triggered by these little dudes on Twitter with their egg profiles, huh?
Well, I'm not going to give a bad quarterback.
They really triggered you.
I'm not going to give a bad. I'm not going to sacrifice my actual knowledge on the position to be like, you know what, Bo Nix is good. But he's not. He's not a good quarterback. We have a lot of evidence.
Brown.
Yes, and finally,
last year.
Finally, a sane person said, "Hey, look, man, he's just better than what we had." And I was like, I can agree with that. I am not an Oregon hater. I mean, you're going to turn me into one.
He's been good enough. He's been good enough to win us these games.
That's all I was looking for. That's all I was looking for. Just some honesty from an Oregon fan. That's it. Okay? He's just mediocre. And that's okay. I'm not
putting the Heisman. I'm not putting him up for Heisman.
Yeah.
But he's winning games.
My favorite thing was somebody just posted a picture of his ESPN profile that says 50th, 44th, and it goes across his stat line, and I'm just like, you're proud of that? You're proud of what you just did? Playing no competition. He's 44th and 50th in yards and touchdowns.
Oregon fans on Twitter really got you triggered.
I just don't like when people that
You're
don't
such a snowflake.
The same thing happened with the Raiders fans, I don't like when people who literally have no knowledge question my knowledge, and then I actually point out facts. They're like, well, what about recently? Shut up, idiot. Just shut up. Just don't talk back. If you don't know what you're talking about, just shut up. Now, Penn State, Michigan. That was a game I thought was going to be a great game. I thought it was going to be a struggle, right? I thought it was going to be defensive struggle, and nope, Penn State got boat race.
Yeah, especially second half. They just got the doors blown off. And it's funny because at halftime, so the big house has one tunnel, and so typically the visiting team goes in first, and they usually get like a 50-yard head start, and so they go into the locker room, and then Michigan comes in behind them, goes into their locker room. Well, Penn State didn't go into the locker room. Instead, they were there jawing with Michigan as they were coming in. And then apparently someone from Penn State threw a PB&J sandwich towards the Michigan players. I don't know what happened, but one of the nutritionists for Michigan posted on Twitter that she saw like stepped on peanut butter sandwiches, and she's like, "We didn't have those." And then there's like a video where you can see like a sandwich go flying through the air. And then James Franklin started jawing with one of the Michigan coaches. Yeah. And he's like, you keep your fucking guys over there, and we'll stay over here. And then afterwards, he started saying, Michigan needs to fix this, like, one tunnel. There needs to be, like, a new policy that there needs to be, like, multiple tunnels. Because, like, this just doesn't work. And I'm like, it was your team that started this. It's never happened. Like, Michigan
it's
versus
one of the
Ohio
oldest
State, these guys fucking hate each other, and there's never been an issue with this one tunnel. But with your team, there was.
It's one of the oldest stadiums in all of college football.
Yeah, it's like 100 years old. Like, what do you want?
It's like you're complaining about something for the first time in 100 years.
Well, I will also say this about Penn State Stadium. So they have to walk through the concourse to get to the locker room.
Yeah.
Like, they have to walk through, like, all the drunken idiots. So
I don't know. I think that's just an excuse. I think he's mad, right? He's obviously frustrated.
He's mad that they got boat raced, for sure.
Yeah.
He's just being a little baby.
And that's another one because of COVID. You and I have talked about this as well. Because of COVID, that's another team with a 100-year-old quarterback, right? Clifford's been in college football for 7 years, right? I know it's 6 years. Everyone, like, seriously, like, people get really mad about this, but the truth is, it's like why Joe Burrow
exaggerate a lot.
Joe Burrow was absolutely great, but he was also like 23 years old his senior year in college.
Maturity does a lot.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's the only when I'm being exaggerative about these things, I'm trying to hammer home a point. Like, you have to understand that they're playing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds because a lot of these kids that are really good, they go play in the NFL. That's how this works. They don't wait. They go get that money. They go get their bag. Now,
yeah, but there's also a lot of guys that go into the NFL at like 21 and they don't really like hit their stride until several years later. So what's the point if you're like if you come into your own like at the tail end of your college career, like after like 6 years, or if you go to or if you're like a practice player,
you know what? You're right.
Practice team player, and then you like come into your own like a couple years later.
You're right. It just doesn't happen at the quarterback position, man. I'm sorry. Brandon Weeden didn't work out. Chris Winkie didn't work out. All right? But one quarterback that appeared to work out.
What about Carson Palmer? Or no, sorry, Kurt Warner.
I was like,
no, Kurt Warner. He was bagged for a couple years.
Yeah, and let's talk about Doug Flutie, Wes. He had a good 3-year run too. Yes, every once in a while, one guy will be great, but it's not the norm, is the only point I'm making. Okay? So thank you for throwing out. You want to throw out Jim Plunkett too? You want to bring up the 70s and 80s? Like, yes, I understand that on occasion it works. However, what I am saying is it is the exception, not the rule. I would love for it to be
so how do you know these guys aren't the exception?
I'm just going to be right in the end. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going to be right in the end. Like, no, Bo Nix is not going to be great. Hooker may be good
about Bo Nix
for 5 to 8 years. Joe Burrow appears to be a stud. Okay, you're absolutely right.
Honestly, if you could have a good quarterback for like 5 to 6 years, you take it.
That's your window. And you know who had a good quarterback for 5 to 6 years and made it to 2 Super Bowls? The Seahawks. The Seahawks. And I really, really want to talk about this. Go ahead. You're a fan. Go ahead. Open us up. You're a fan.
Actually, I'll just go and say, I mean, like, Geno, like, he's obviously not going to, like, win MVP or anything like that. But,
yeah.
I mean, he's a lot better. He's a lot better than he was, like, when he first came into the league. Maturity.
We were wrong.
You know?
We were wrong. Yeah. We were wrong. Both of us were making fun of the decision.
Yeah. And then, Russell Wilson just sucks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what to say about him, but he's terrible. And what brought this to our attention wasn't that he had one of the worst games of his career on Monday Night Football this week. It was that his name made an appearance on the Richard Sherman's podcast with Marshawn Lynch. And Marshawn Lynch made the comment of, look, homie, I don't reach out to you if I have to go through your managers first. If I can't just call you directly after we've been to war together, you and I aren't talking. And I was disgusted by that because, you ready for this? Here's a hot take, Wes. Marshawn Lynch is far better and will go down as far better at his job than Russell Wilson ever was.
Yeah. But, well, so here's the kind of question that I have. I mean, because, like, it never really specified. Yeah. Like, did he have his personal phone number, like, when they were teammates? But maybe now he just has a different phone number and he didn't give it to Marshawn for whatever reason, which is still pretty crappy. But
no, you're right. I think he's just a bad person, man. I really do. I think it's all an act.
I mean, he's a diva. He's a diva for sure.
Yeah, I think it's all an act. I think he's the fakest quarterback I think we may have ever seen in the NFL. Like, he's so fake. He goes beyond the whole coach speak, don't really say anything to the media type stuff. And he tries to make himself marketable, and it just comes across as corny and weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think he is a good dude. He does do the whole like children's hospital bit. But he goes a lot. He goes like every weekend or like every like Monday or Tuesday or whatever. I mean
he's got to ride somewhere.
He generally does care about those kids, but like when it comes to like his image and his appearance, he's definitely really fake and shallow.
Yeah, like I said,
he's always got to be like on the red carpet with Sierra and yeah.
All right, enough of Danger Us or Mr. Unlimited. Or family football for life, because he cares a lot. Enough about that guy. He's done a lot of corny things, and I can keep going. Throwing invisible footballs in the end zone.
Playing air guitar in the hotel.
It's just there's a lot we can talk about. Yeah, there's a lot we can talk about. I'm going to leave him alone. And let's talk about you mentioned in the production meeting, this is the most parody you've seen in the NFL in a very long time. I tend to agree with you. I think this is wild. But talk to me, like, what do you think? I don't think there's a team that can't be beaten. I think the only dominant team isn't the undefeated one. I think it's the Buffalo Bills. I think they're the most dominant team in the NFL right now, even though the Eagles are undefeated. But what do you
Don't let Lucci hear you say that.
Deep down, he knows.
It's definitely like tons of parity. I mean, even your crappy Raiders could like backdoor their way into the wild card. Yeah. And like really the only team that I don't think has a shot is the Texans.
Because they wanted to ride with Davis Mills.
Probably the Jaguars, too. Because screw them. Sorry, Alex.
I'm so sad about that.
I mean, the NFC West is 3-3, 3-3, 3-3, and 2-4. It's crazy. And, like, the whole NFC, I think there's, like, so you have the Eagles, you have the Cowboys, and then... or the Giants. Well, it's crazy because the NFC East is the only team that like doesn't really have parity. Yeah. But like other than that, the rest of the NFC East is all like 4-2, 3-3, 2-4.
It's a great football season so far. I mean, it's great for fans that just like watching football. Like I can watch most games pretty much.
You have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I have a pretty good feeling the Bears aren't going to win. And I have a pretty good feeling that the Houston Texans aren't going to win.
Well, normally if you look at a game or like at a schedule for the week, you can pick out like 8 games where you're like, these are pretty much like this team's going to lose or this team's going to win, given like some crazy upset. But not this year.
I don't know. It's been a fun year. Even the Jaguars Colts game came down to the wire. The Jaguars, you made a comment about them just being bad. I don't agree. I think the Jaguars, they just need to get it together at the end of the game. I think they're a decent team. I think Doug Peterson's done a better job. I think Trevor Lawrence needs to stop throwing with his eyes closed. I think when he like has time, he sets. He's a really good quarterback, and he can throw well, and his legs are great. He runs well, better than we thought. He could be better than Josh Allen or Josh Allen.
He just needs some maturity.
Yeah, he does. He does. You know what? You might be right. There you go. Okay, way to bring it back, Wes. Really quick as we wind down the show. MLB playoffs are in full swing. We obviously talked about the Mariners. Unfortunately, the Evil Empire made it back to the ACLS against the cheaters, and we all know they're cheaters.
I'm rooting for the AL no matter what.
Nobody likes to comment back. Nobody from Astros fan bases like to comment back whenever I make the joke about, so were you the one beating on the trash can, or did you hand the team the Apple Watches? Like, they get really mad about that for some reason. I don't know why. Outside of that, welcome back, NBA, NHL, right? Obviously, you see Wes is repping the Kraken. 1-3, but hopefully not for long. I, too, am a Kraken fan. You can see it back there. It's a great environment. The team is actually fun. The team is fun to watch. They are a fun team, and I hope the best for the Kraken this year. We'll see. It's a long season, just like the NBA. So our 2 longest seasons of the wintertime have kicked off, right? Baseball's obviously the longest ever. It lasts forever.
Doesn't need to be 162 games.
No, I'm with you.
You want to know what was a fake celebration? Utah beating USC. Okay, Utah beat USC last year, and then they've won 3 out of the last 5 against USC. Like, just because USC is good this year, like, Utah's been pretty good for, like, several years now. Like, they went to the Rose Bowl at one point. Like, you shouldn't be rushing the field over beating USC. That was, like, pretty much a toss-up game, in my opinion.
So, you know what's a fake celebration to me? It's not just the 62 home runs. Like that, whatever. You guys got my opinion on that. I just talked about it. Gender reveal parties. Fake celebrations. Not a real thing. Not a real reason to have a party. You're just finding out whether or not your baby has a penis or a vagina. And I got to be honest, even in 2022, that doesn't really matter anymore. It's weird.
That means a lot to some of the parents, though. I've seen parents cry because it wasn't the sex that they wanted.
That's terrible. I hope that their child gets to see that video and know, hey, your parent didn't want you. All right. So outside, you brought us there. I said it was terrible. So outside of that, we really appreciate you guys coming. Chelsea, please get better soon. I know you were still on the mend.
She drank too much over the weekend.
Okay, there it is from the brother's mouth. But get better soon. We miss you here. Obviously, I'm sure you would have given me pushback as well on Bo Nix, even though you were on the train with me to bench Bo Nix. Outside of that, come back every week. Come join us. We love you guys. Wes is crushing it in the anger department lately. Apparently, I'm up there too with my hate for Oregon fans. But I don't actually hate Oregon fans. I love them, obviously. And I don't hate the Ducks. I don't know where people are getting this from. I just don't think Bo Nix is good. There's nothing wrong with that. Come back next week. You can reach us at the Sad Fan Cast on Twitter. You could reach us on our YouTube channel, the Sad Fan Podcast Network. And you could reach me at the Sad Fan 12. Go ahead, Wes.
I vote we call this episode the Triggered Fan.
Triggered Fan. All right, you know what? We got a title. The Triggered Fan it is. Have a good week, everyone.